Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today we have an article for you whose title is, Are Ultra-Processed Foods Making Us Fat? New BBC documentary investigates.
我们的中文标题是人体实测超级加工食品究竟会对我们造成什么影响啊？那个 ultra processed foods， 那 ultra 就是far beyond the normal 啊，或者是 the proper degree 啊，那这个所以是超级的 processed 就是加工过的 foods 食品啊，所以 ultra processed foods 就是超级加工食品。
After we read and explain the article, we also have a few questions to help you more deeply understand the material. Okay, I'll read through this and then we'll go back sentence by sentence to explain it for you. As the available number and variety of ultra-processed foods have increased, so have our waistlines. Obesity rates in adults have skyrocketed over the last 50 years, and it has become pervasive in modern society. More shockingly, it has become rampant in children. In the UK alone, about 21% of children are considered obese by the time they finish elementary school. A new joint effort by the BBC and researchers at the University College of London plans to address this question in their new documentary. Dr. Chris Van Tulleken from UCL's Division of Infection and Immunity will present the documentary as he subjects himself to a month-long UPF diet. The experiment was overseen by Professor Rachel Batterham, head of the UCL Center for Obesity Research. The goal was to determine if UPFs are what's causing obesity in children and if they are addictive. No current clinical studies on this subject matter exist, so the effects of UPFs on children's bodies are unknown. Dr. Van Tulleken altered his diet to consist of 80% UPF for over 4 weeks and had his health monitored by Professor Batterham. An MRI was taken of Dr. Van Tulleken's brain at the beginning of the experiment and then again at the end in order to determine any neurological changes. The results at the month's end were clear. The UPF diet had changed the hormones made in Dr. Van Tulleken's stomach, making him feel hungrier and causing him to gain weight. It also built new connections in his brain, likely increasing his cravings and desire for more UPF items.
Okay, so UPFs are ultra-processed foods, and they're not good for you. I mean, that's what this article is basically talking about. So as the available number and variety of ultra-processed foods have increased, so have our waistlines. So as A has happened, B has also happened. As something has increased, our waistlines have also gotten bigger, i.e., as the more foods that we eat that are UPF foods, the fatter we get. Now, this is a very good use of the word available, by the way, because this is a word that I have never been able to satisfactorily translate into into Chinese as a one-to-one thing, but we use it all the time. Available means it is available to you. It means that it's there ready for use, or that ready to help you, or the time is available. It's almost impossible to talk about available without saying available.
Yeah, it's at your disposal.
It's at your disposal. So time is at your disposal. Material is at your disposal. It's something that you can use or have.
Yeah, ready to use.
Ready to use. So there's so much of these UPF, ultra-processed foods, that you can have and eat easily. And so it's much easier to get fat than before.
好 ，available 这个字大家可以好好学一学怎么用哈。 因为它不太容易直接翻成中文哈。当然你可以翻成可以取得的、可以获得的哈，但那个概念你要把它学起来。那像在这里用的也很好。The available number and variety 就是你找得到的、你买得到的这种数量，还有这种种类啊。什么东西的数量跟种类呢？超级加工食品啊，你所买得到的、所能够取得的数量跟种类啊 ，have increased 增加了啊。那同时我们的 waistlines 我们的腰围也增加了啊，所以 so have our waistlines 啊，后面省略了一个 increased 啊，因为重复的把它省略掉。那 as 在这里就是表示两个同时发生的事情啊，所以一方面我们能够取得的超级加工食品越来越多，那一方面我们的腰围也越来越宽。
Obesity rates in adults have skyrocketed over the last 50 years. Obesity is really a key word for this article. You can have a little bit of fat, no big problem. But if you are so fat, so heavy, that it interferes with your internal chemistry and biology and your ability to do things, then we have a problem. And unfortunately, the rates, the percentages of adults who are obese is the adjective, it's skyrocketed over the last 50 years, the last half century. So many people in many, many countries. This is not just America's problem. It may have started there, but there are more obese people. Rates are higher in countries like Mexico and Saudi Arabia than in the United States. So it's now an international problem as diets become more and more similar around the world. And obesity is now pervasive in modern society. As time goes by, we see more and more obese people.
OK， 好 ，obesity 这个字呢是肥胖，但是各位要记得它是会致病的肥胖，或者是几乎到病态的肥胖。好，所以 obesity rates 就是肥胖率哈 ，in adults 成人的肥胖率 have skyrocketed。好，那这个动词还不错哈，就是像火箭一样的剧增啊，急剧的攀升哈 ，skyrocketed。好，那它就是 increase very steeply or rapidly 哈 ，steeply 非常陡峭陡升哈 ，steeply。好，所以这个成人的肥胖率呢，好，这个急剧的攀升啊 ，over the last 50 years， 过去这50年来，成人的肥胖率急剧攀升 ，and it has become pervasive， 那它已经变成了一个很普遍的问题啊 ，in modern society。那注意 ，in modern society 不要加任何的冠词。那 pervasive 这个字大家也可以学一下，好，盛行的、遍布的 ，spreading widely throughout an area， 就是叫做 pervasive， 流行、盛行、遍布的。
More shockingly, something that makes you go even more, that surprises you even more, it, meaning obesity, has become rampant in children. To be rampant, it means that it is excessively and dangerously representative or dangerously present in children. So basically, it's shocking that more and more children are becoming obese. And if you're obese as a child, it's almost impossible to become thin as an adult.
真的哈，小时候胖呢就是胖啊，长大通常很难瘦回来啊，所以小时候就不要过胖。那我们看到这个句，他说 more shockingly 哈，更令人震惊的是啊 ，shockingly 就令人震惊啊。It has become 这已经变成了一个 rampant 啊 ，rampant 中文叫做猖獗啊，这是很好的翻译。好 ，rampant 通常就是 spreading unchecked 啊，就是没有人阻止，它就一直扩散啊。那通常是不好的事情。这个字的字根啊是 Old French 啊来的，它原来的字根的意思是 crawling 的意思就是爬，到处爬。你可以想象那个害虫啊满地爬那种感觉，那是 rampant 啊，要记得这个字。
Rampant is when on a shield a figure is rearing up. Normally an animal that would walk on 4 legs, it means they're rearing up and standing on 2 legs. It means they're becoming more visible or more dangerous.
哦，所以 rampant 啊，它是这种好像一个很可怕的生物会站起来，到处开始跑了，开始走的那种感觉啊。所以总之这是一个负面的字，好 rampant 啊，你不会说这 goodwill is rampant， 很奇怪。
unless you're against goodwill, in which case you might describe it that way.
啊，所以通常用在负面的哈，所以在小孩身上呢，这个问题呢更加的猖獗了。
In the UK alone, about 21% of children are considered obese by the time they finish elementary school. So that's about 1 out of 5 kids when they finish primary school. 1 out of 5 of those students is already obese.
好，那单单在英国in the UK alone 就是 only 单单在英国，大概有 21% 的小孩已经被认为是 obese， 已经是过胖了。好 by the time they finish elementary school， 他们念完小学，已经有 21% 的小孩在英国已经算过胖了。
A new joint effort by the BBC and researchers at the University College of London. These people, it's a joint effort is 2 groups of people working together. Like you could have a joint military campaign between
say Sweden and Denmark could join forces.
And so this joint effort between the BBC and researchers at this university or at this college, are they a university college or are they a college university? It's confusing. Anyways, that's their name, though, the University College of London. These 2 groups of people have plans to address this question. If you address something, it means you start to work on it or you start to apply yourself to it. So they're trying to figure out this question. They're trying to figure out this problem in their new documentary.
好 ，joint 就是联合的啊。那 effort 在这里就是 action taken by a group for a specified purpose， 所以你有特定的目标，一群人为了一个特定目标所做的一些事情。好，那最常见的，我最常看到就是 the war effort， 好，就是战争，大家一起努力要赢得的战争。那在这里这个 joint effort 就是他们联合起来做的一件事情啊。那谁联合呢 ？BBC 这个电视台啊，还有呢这个伦敦大学学院的研究人员啊，他们一起联合起来。那他们做的这件事情是 plans to， 他们要计划是要能够希望能够 address this question， address 就是 to deal with to treat of， 所以他们要能够这个处理这个问题啊，在他们的新的 documentary 纪录片里面，他们希望能够针对这个问题做一些探讨。
Dr. Chris Van Tuliken from UCL's Division of Infection and Immunity will present the documentary. So here we have one of the members of the joint effort. He's from the UCL's division. A division is a part of something. Infection and immunity. Infection is the spreading around of a disease. Immunity is what we hope we have against infection. We have the proper body chemistry to kill or stop or slow down infection and germs. This Dr. Van Tuliken will present the documentary. As he subjects himself, he will be used as what we call a medical guinea pig. He will be, or mouse, in the experiment because we want to know the effects on people, not animals. So for a month, he will go on a special UPF, we've already mentioned that, a UPF diet for a month and see what happens to him as he becomes a kind of token experiment.
He's a human guinea pig or a human white mouse.
Yeah.
白老鼠
But this experiment keeps getting tried over and over again in documentaries. The most famous one is the guy who went on an all McDonald's diet like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe
I remember
8 years
that.
ago. Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, if you're willing to do it, sure.
Yeah. 好，所以这个 Dr. Chris Van Tuliken 他是这个伦敦大学学院的Division of Infection and Immunity， 就是感染与免疫学部。Infection 是感染 ，immunity 是免疫那他会 present the documentary， 他会这个给大家看这个 documentary， 他会 show 或者是 display 这个 documentary。As he 他怎么做呢？他一边会怎么样 subject himself to 这个 subject 这个字呢，在这里就是 to bring under influence to cause to experience 或者是to cause to be acted upon 所以换句话说，他自己下去做他自己让他自己去怎么样呢？去吃一个 month long 一整个月的 UPF diet， 就是 这个一整个月的超级加工食品的食物啊，吃一整个月，看看状况会怎么样，会发生什么事。
So this experiment was overseen or run or managed by Professor Rachel Batterham, and she's the head of the UCL Center for Obesity Research. Wow, if the University College of London has an entire center for obesity research, it's no wonder that they linked up with BBC to work on this project.
Yeah. 所以这个实验呢 was overseen 好，就是被监督。好 oversee 它就可以表示监督的意思，就 supervise 啊 supervise， 而且这两个字这 supervise 的字根就是 oversee 好 super 就是 over vis 就是 see 啊，或者你可以说 to direct 啊，它监督。所以这个实验呢是由谁监督呢？由Professor Rachel Batterham 啊，那他是谁呢？同一个告诉你，他是这个伦敦大学学院的 Center for Obesity Research 肥胖研究中心的 head 是主任。
Next paragraph. The goal of the experiment was to determine if UPFs are what's causing obesity in children and if they are addicted. There's a reason, there's a purpose for this experiment. How bad are UPFs is basically what they want to know. First of all, to be fair, are UPFs causing obesity in children or not, or how much? And if they are addictive, are these UPFs like drugs, some kinds of drugs that after you take them, you want them more and more and you can't control your behavior?
好，所以 the goal was to 各位可以把它背起来，就是目的是为了什么？目标是要什么？他们的目标是要能够 determine， 就是决定一下 if 是不是哈这个UPF 啊这种超级加工食品是不是 what's causing obesity in children， 是不是它造成的小孩的过重问题啊 ？And if 这个 if 也是一样跟 determine 来，所以 determine 后面有两个 if 啊，他们也要确定一下 if they are addictive 啊，这种超级加工食品 they 就是指超级加工食品 are addictive 会不会让人上瘾？
No current clinical studies on this subject matter exist. Now, they're not saying that studies on obesity don't exist. They're talking about studies that specifically focus on ultra-processed foods do not currently exist. So, the effect of UPFs on children's bodies are unknown. We don't know how UPFs affect children's bodies.
好 no current something exist 就是目前没有这样的东西存在。好，那 current 就是目前的意思。那目前没有什么东西存在，目前没有 clinical studies 临床的研究 on this subject matter 在这个主题上的临床研究目前没有存在。就目前没有这样的临床研究存在。那 subject matter 就是主题 subject 已经是主题了， matter 它指的是 the material that is the object of discussion 或者是 of discourse， 所以其实这两个字意思有一点点重叠，但常常英文里面常常会讲到 subject matter 就是指研究的主题。因为没有现在并没有这样的临床研究的这个存在，所以呢 the effects of UPFs 这个超级加工食品它们的影响on children's bodies 在儿童身体上的影响呢 are unknown 现在并不知道。
Dr. Van Tulleken altered his diet. He changed his diet to consist of 80% UPF. Whatever he was eating before, 4/5 of his regular diet, previous diet, was changed for over 4 weeks, just over a month, and had his health monitored by Professor Batterham. If your health is monitored, it is followed, it is studied, it is checked on.
好，所以呢，这个 Dr. Van Tulleken altered 就是 change 或者 modify， 他改变了他的 diet， 他的这个吃的东西 to 让他怎么样 consist of 让他的食物呢有 80% 的是包括是由这个超级加工食品所组成。那多久呢？他吃了超过4个星期，然后呢 had his health monitored to have something 后面加一个 VPP 一个过去分词，就是让某样东西被怎么样，所以在这里就让某样东西就是他的健康 monitored 就是被 监控啊 ，monitor 就是监测监控，由这个 Professor Batterham 来监控。
So what they did was an MRI was taken of Dr. Van Tulleken's brain. An MRI is basically a picture that they can take of the inside of your body through magnets, actually. It's a really interesting process, but basically you've seen images of this. They're like x-rays, but instead of just of your bones, it shows things like your brain tissue, and they can do it at incredible levels of detail these days. So they took this basically an inside picture of Dr. Tulleken's brain at the beginning of the experiment, and then again at the end. And they did this in order to figure out any neurological changes. They wanted to know, did his brain structure actually change because of the foods?
好 ，MRI 就是我们讲的大脑核磁共振扫描所以大脑核磁共振扫描was taken， 他做了这么一个扫描是扫描什么呢？扫描这个 Dr. Van Tulleken 他的大脑，那是 at the beginning of the experiment， 这个实验开始的时候做了一个，那 then again 又做了一个 at the end， 就是 at the end of the experiment， 实验结束又做了一个，因为这样才能比较嘛。In order to 目的是要 determine 要判定确定有没有这个任何的 neurological 就是神经或者神经系统上面的一些改变。
The results at the month's end, remember 4 weeks or a little more than that for the experiment, the results were clear. It was obvious. They had no questions about it. What were the results? The UPF diet had changed the hormones made in Dr. Van Tulleken's stomach. There was a change because of the diet, hormones. These are chemicals that we produce in our bodies normally, usually. And the ones made in our stomach, for Dr. Van Tulleken, it made him feel hungrier. When these hormones are in the stomach, they tell the person or an animal, you're hungry, find something to eat. And since these hormones were working overtime or there were more of them, he felt hungrier and hungrier, and he ate more and more, and he gained more and more weight.
好，所以1个月结束之后，这个 results 这个结果呢是非常清楚的。这些超级加工食品had changed 已经改变了这个Dr. Van Tulleken 他的胃里面所制造的荷尔蒙making him feel hungrier 让他觉得会更饿，而且呢 causing him to gain weight 让他体重也增加了，因为他觉得饿就吃多吃，体重就增加了。
So the diet also built new connections in his brain. They did the MRI and they discovered that he really did have changes in his brain. They found that there was new connections. And these connections were most likely, they seemed to be about increasing his cravings, increasing his desire for food, his desire for more UPF items specifically. So they're saying is that the brain connections are reinforcing the idea that he really was becoming addicted to this kind of food.
Yeah, 这个地方我觉得是最恐怖的就是这样子做呢，他也会 build 他也这个建造了 new connections in his brain， 他在他的大脑里面呢建立了新的连结。那这些新的连结 likely 很可能 increasing 增加了他的 cravings。cravings 就是强烈的渴望热望。An intense desire or longing 增加了他的强烈的渴望，还有他的欲望 desire， 他想要吃更多的这种超级加工食品，所以他改变他大脑的结构，会让他不但会容易饿，而且他会更想吃这些超级加工食品。
Basically, if a food comes in a box, it's much more likely to not be good for you.
Yeah, 所以这个用盒子装起来的食物通常都不是太好的。Yeah.
So we have some questions here for you, number one of which is, in which of the following publications would you expect to find the experiment's results?
你可以预期在下列哪一本期刊当中找到本文的实验结果呢？
The answer is B, Journal of Medical Sciences, since we're talking about medical treatment on the body.
好，答案是 B, 医疗科学期刊。
Number 2, according to the passage, which of the following statements is true?
根据本文，下列何项叙述正确？
And the answer is A. There was no previous research data on UPFs and children.
答案是 A 先前没有针对超级加工食品与孩童的研究资料。
And number 3, what did the results of Dr. Van Tilliken's experiment show?
好，那这位医生 Tilliken 医生他的实验结果显示了什么呢？
The answer is C. The UPFs effected major changes in the doctor's body. They brought about huge changes to his body.
答案是 C 超级加工食品让这位医生他的身体产生了重大的变化。Okay, that's it for today's program. Hope you learned a little bit more about biology along with us today. Until the next time,
Bye-bye.